think that may be you, Teresa.
What's that? Hmm?
It's a pretty heavy sweater.
Got a nasty look from the judge the other day.
I've got 6:15.
You got 6:15? Okay. All right, we're going to call the December 13th Board of Education meeting to order. Merry Christmas to you all. So if we could all stand, we have got South Paulding High School, JROTC. So Lieutenant Colonel Chris Moore, if you'll get your folks up here, and afterwards, could you bring them back in and introduce them too?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Color are Alt, Harry, colors, forward, arch, art time, arch, color guard, Alt, order, colors, ride, base, colors, post, colors, alt, colors, salute. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, colors, ride, base, carry, colors, forward, arch, color guard, alt,
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. South Paulding High School Spartan Battalion, this is one of 3 or 4 color guard teams we have. I got one on autopilot right now doing basketball games by himself. So well done, trainer. We have Cadet Staff Sergeant Phil Alvarado, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel J.D. Martin. He's our battalion commander this year. Cadet Sergeant First Class Caitlin Walters, and Cadet Private First Class First Year Cadet Sean McSweeney. This is our team here tonight.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You guys want to remain standing for a minute. I'm going to introduce who's going to give our invocation tonight, and it's Mr. Ted Black. He's a junior at Paulding County High School, but I've got to tell you a quick story. As I met him a couple of football seasons ago, and I went to speak to the team, and he actually came out and greeted me and shook my head and said, "Thank you for coming." And I've never forgotten that, so thank you for coming. So
Thank you. All right, thank you guys for having me here tonight. Let us pray. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for the many blessings you have given us, and thank you for these leaders of Paulding County. Thank you for the opportunity for greatness you give us every day. I ask that you be with them as they try to make the best decisions for our schools. Please give them the wisdom to make these decisions according to your perfect will. Please allow them to make decisions to help principals to support our teachers, and our teachers to continue to work hard in the classroom to support students and to motivate them to work hard and do their best. Please bless these leaders abundantly and help them to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Help make them to make good decisions for you and for those who have placed their trust and confidence in them. I pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Black. You're going to be seated second, but I do have to say one thing. Mr. Driscoll, don't leave here. For you folks that don't know Bill Driscoll, he actually implemented a mentor program at Paulding County High School, and it was very successful. He did a great job, and I now understand he wants to do it at East Paulding, and he's got some interest at North Paulding too. So, Mr. Driscoll, thank you for being here, and I know you didn't know that I was going to do this, but you've done a great job at Paulding, and I know you're going to do the same at East and North, so thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Aligned to the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Let's move forward to second. Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0. Now, Chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the regular board meeting minutes on November 15th. So moved. Mr. Albright with the motion, do we have a second? Second by Ms. Cobb. Any additions, deletions? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries unanimous. So we will turn it over to our superintendent for recognition.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a reminder of board members, when you're speaking, to be cognizant of the mic and please speak loudly. And also, any presenters, please make sure you're speaking into the mic. We have started recording our sessions, and eventually hopefully after the first of the year, they'll be streamed. So we're just still working out the kinks there. And before we do begin with our recognitions, I'd like to recognize State Representative Mr. Howard Maxwell, and Mr. Maxwell represents District 17. So, Mr. Maxwell, thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for your service. And we'll begin our recognitions with the Dallas Rotary Teacher of the Month, and I'm going to ask Ms. Mary Carol Sheffield to come forward for the recognition. In each month, the Dallas Rotary Club recognizes a teacher that is nominated by a stakeholder or parent.
So, good evening. I am with the Rotary Club of Dallas, and I am here to help recognize Tricia Peterson from Paulding County High School, and she's been selected as the November Teacher of the Month by our Rotary Club. Ms. Peterson was nominated by Dr. Robin Davis, who said, "Ms. Peterson has proven time and again that she truly cares about her students. One example of this is that Ms. Peterson is constantly checking on the progress of her students and keeps in close contact with students and parents, offering suggestions for student improvement. She spends many hours tutoring her students. She loves her students and her job. This is evident every time you walk in her classroom. She is a positive role model for students and colleagues alike. Ms. Peterson has a winning personality that combines professionalism, intelligence, and a great sense of humor." So several sponsors make this Rotary Club Award possible. So for Dallas Rotary Teacher of the Month, we really want to thank the Howard Maxwell Allstate Insurance Agency, Members First Credit Union, Fidelity Bank, Elrod Garden Center, and Salon 341. And we want to thank you, Mrs. Peterson, for being a positive influence to your students and to the Paulding County School District. You and your efforts are greatly appreciated by parents, students, faculty, and residents of our county. And in honor of it, this is for you, and we'll look forward to seeing you Thursday morning. And
Ms. Peterson, again, congratulations. So thank you for what you do. Next, we will move on to our public participation, and we have a presentation tonight. And Sarah Seacrest, I have not met Sarah. So Sarah, come on up, and just make sure you talk into the mic. And Sarah is here to talk about block scheduling. It's in conversation about moving to block scheduling. So Sarah, I think they've gone over the presentation guidelines with you.
Yes.
So whenever you get ready, we're ready to hear from you.
I have handouts.
Okay.
Do you guys want those ahead of time? Okay.
And Sarah is a sophomore at East Paulding High School.
I would like to start off by thanking the board for accepting my request to speak today on behalf of the concerned students in Paulding County regarding block scheduling. Albert Einstein once said, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music, I live my daydreams in music, I see my life in terms of music." I'm not comparing myself to Einstein, but I can relate to what he said. I'm an AP honors student with all A's currently at the top of my class. I'm currently enrolled in the top band class, the top chorus class, and one of the top theater classes. I've worked hard to get into these top classes, and I'm fully committed to all three. The recent announcement of the great possibility of block scheduling in our school system threatens my love and passion for the arts. I'm concerned for the likelihood of my involvement in chorus, band, and theater, and I'm concerned for other students, both fine arts and academically driven. I'm here today to voice some of these concerns for you and to show my perspective on the matter. For years, I've poured lots of time and energy into cultivating my talents and trying to make the most of God-given gifts. When trying to get support behind this, some teachers, they were like, just choose. You'll just have to choose, And to me, you might think that that's a suitable option, but to me, it's just unfathomable that they'll have to choose between three things I've committed so much to. And to my fine arts teacher couldn't agree more. I can assure you that deciding between the arts and courses needed and other extracurricular is not going to only pose a difficult choice, but a heartbreaking one for very many students. These are my top 5 arguments against block. Number 5 is the workload claim. Many say that it will reduce workload, and maybe over an extensive amount of periods it will. You won't have to worry about all the different classes. But overall, you're still going to have the same amount of work, just in certain classes. In a website created by Jeff Lindsay, an engineer and educator from Wisconsin, he details about how in order to cover necessary curriculum and teach in-depth to students, certain material must be cut. A very important point he makes is, if teachers must cut curriculum to make room for in-depth learning in a block class, what makes the cut information unnecessary? And why is it being taught in traditional schedules in the first place? If it was cut in traditional classes as well, would that not make room for more in-depth learning and to face the whole point of block? Number 4 is the attention struggles. I read an article on educationworld.com where they stated that a simple solution to the problem presented by students who may struggle with staying focused during a 90-minute class is that teachers would have the flexibility to teach using various methods, especially active methods. And this sounds very appealing, but it's definitely not a guarantee. In fact, most studies, including one in North Carolina, shown on northcarolinapublicschools.org, most teachers continue to straight lecture and cover as much information as possible because there's so much to cover in just 3 or 4 months of the block schedule. Number 3 is retention. Many students would have such a difficult time trying to remember the information that they had learned before. A University of Illinois, Professor Bennett argues that one of the myths of block scheduling is better grades. In some cases, academics may slightly improve, but she states that GPAs are not a reliable indicator of achievement since each school or individual teacher controls the outcome of a given test. GPAs routinely increase while the SAT scores decrease. Number 2 is scheduling and academics. People look at other counties with block scheduling, such as Cobb, and see that their arts and academics flourish. I believe it to be unfair to compare our county to theirs because they have like twice or 3 times as many students as we do in our schools. On a side note, Walton and Lassiter, top schools in Cobb, are on traditional, full on traditional. And even Pope High School, who they were on block, they referred back to the traditional schedule because of curriculum concerns. It is hard to find scheduling conflicts in schools where there are enough courses to accommodate many students. With our numbers, scheduling has always been an issue, even with its traditional form, and with the implementation of block, the conflicts may only get worse. And number 1, fine arts. Block scheduling is going to hurt the fine arts in every school in Paulding, whether we acknowledge it or not. Block is going to force students to choose whether the choice is which one to drop entirely or which one to go a semester without. And due to our numbers already being small, they are only going to continue to decrease. Fine arts are one of Paulding's finest assets, and it would be a shame to see them shrivel up and suffer right as they are reaching their peaks of excellence. Please take into consideration people like me whose passion and love for the arts shines through every quality and aspect of my character. Even students who may not be directly involved in the fine arts have been impacted through music, either on the radio, in concerts, or at movies. We are the future of music to come. Please take into consideration how block scheduling may harm our programs and our musical futures. Finally, block scheduling will come with several positive impacts, but overall, the scale leans more toward this side with the negatives. With the number of students we have enrolled in our schools, it just does not seem like we are ready to execute a block schedule. Our fine arts will suffer, and students will struggle not only with figuring out their schedules and how they will align, but in longer classes and in retaining information. My main concern is that with block, I may not be guaranteed to be able to take our top band, top chorus, and top theater classes year-round. These are classes that I've worked long and hard to get into, and they are my passions. I would like you to take my reasons and concerns into deep consideration. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Sarah, good job, and I want to commend you for the type of student you are. So, awesome job.
Absolutely.
Do anyone have questions?
I just ask that we have the context of her speech added to the minute meetings.
That's pretty much what we have here, is it, Sarah?
Okay.
Your context of your speech is what you gave us?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And then the email is
Okay,
attached to it
all
as
right.
well. And I also have here signatures of concerned students, mostly from East Paulding, but I have some Paulding County signatures and some North Paulding signatures, and some upcoming 8th graders upcoming 9th graders that are 8th graders this year that
If
are
you
very
want-
involved.
If you want to, I'll take those from you.
Okay, that would be
Okay.
perfect. Let me just.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you.
That's a good job.
Thank you. Good job.
So you can see Sarah is one very bright young lady, and she's just a fine example of what we have throughout our district. So good job again.
Absolutely.
It is difficult for anyone to get up and stand in front of this group. So again, great job. At this time, we will move on to our presentations. And first, we have a financial update. I'm going to ask Mr. Barnett to come forward.
Good evening. So I want to remind the board that we typically only present a monthly financial report in months where there are 2 or more board meetings. So with only one meeting in December, we will not have the full presentation tonight. I know that's disappointing to many in the room, especially Mr. Watson. But we do have the typical monthly report available to the board. It's also going to be posted on the website with the agenda. I do want to mention just a couple of quick highlights from the October report. Our year-to-date general fund expenditures for the month were $80.3 million against revenues of $65.7. So that means we lost $14.6 million in fund balance in October. That brings us down to $16.2 million. That's about 3 weeks worth of operating expenditures for us, which is typically our low point for the year. All functions are trending within expectations for the month. And historically, as of October, we spend around 33.5% of our total annual expenditures. As of this past October, we had spent 32.8%. So we are trending within expectations. And again, as always, if you have any questions about the report, please let me know. And next month we'll come back with a full report.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
All right. We're going to move on to discussion, and I'm going to ask Mr. McClure to take over the chair for this part. I'm going to recuse myself from this part. Thank you.
Next under discussion, we have the East Paulding High School field house loan, and I think basically where we got to this point is the Booster Club at East Paulding High School has a loan that since 2008, and to be honest, it's just been, I think, a challenge for that Booster Club. It's been to some degrees a detriment to some of the programs at the school. It's just been a challenge for the school and the Booster Club to continue making those payments and moving forward. So the discussion is basically what is best for the students at East Paulding High School, and how do we move forward with that. So it's a request to put it on the agenda tonight and get some feedback. So at this time, turn it over to board members.
All right. What we're going to do is we're going to ask each one of the board members to speak. We need them to speak their mind, and then we need to come up with some kind of solution. As Superintendent Cole said, this has been going on since about 2008. There's been some movement back and forth, some changes and different things that have been made to try to accommodate and try to make this loan work, and it has not worked. So we need to look at it and see what we can do to make it better. So at this time, whichever end wants to start, and we'll come around to all the board members, and I'll reserve my comments until last. So, Mr. Chester, I think I'll start farthest away from me. That way I'll know when it's my time to speak.
I don't have anything on the subject. I don't think I know enough information about it, so I'll pass to Ms. Lyons.
I've been conflicted over this more than anything I've ever been conflicted over since I've been a board member. And I understand all three sides of the position. I really didn't know I was going to be asked to speak, so I'm not completely prepared. But my position is I think that we need to come up with a solution that will work for all three parties. What that looks like, I don't know. I sought counsel with an outside attorney who had a great suggestion. I don't know if anybody else would agree with this, but it made the most sense out of anything that anyone has presented so far. There are two parties involved, but now it's made us to be a part of the involvement in this thing. It's ours. The building is on school board property. It services students and athletes throughout the school. With that being said, I feel like we are receiving the benefits of the building for our students, so that the board should have a partial responsibility in providing finances to serve our students. I think the Booster Club, they should have a portion of the responsibility, but a manageable portion, something that they can actually afford to pay. And with the bank may have to compromise a little bit too. I know y'all have done a lot, but if we could come up with the number that was thrown out there by probably one of the most brilliant attorneys that I've ever known, was split it three ways. Let the school board take a third, let the Booster Club take a third, and maybe the bank take a third. I don't know what the solution is, but that is probably one of the most reasonable, because I know we don't want that loan to go bad. That's the last thing I want. We do not. I agree with someone that we met with the other day. Is I believe people should repay their debt, and I don't think a Booster Club is any exception to that. But I also know that they're in a situation where they can't, and I don't want to see that loan go completely bad. So if we can help the situation, and maybe someone else has a better solution, and if you do, I'm all for it. I do want to see this resolved. We've had 8 years that this has been going on, and it needs to be resolved in a fair and equitable way, but mostly what's fair to the kids and what's right for the kids and what's best for our athletes and students. That's my position on it. And, you know, You know, I had 4 kids go through East Paulding High School, and I particularly really loved that school. My heart is in that school. And I know we can go back and talk about what could and should have happened, and what should not have happened, but it's not going to change anything in the past. So what I don't want to do is talk about what happened 10 years ago or 8 years ago. And because nothing is going to change. We've had the FDIC come through and comb through that loan. There was nothing illegal, nothing wrong, nothing, you know. If the FDIC can give us that kind of report, I trust the FDIC more than I really trust anyone else's opinion. Like I said, there's a lot of things that, you know, we could all, in hindsight, go back and change if we could, but we can't. So I feel that we need to move forward and not backwards. And I hope that the rest of this board feels the same way. And that's all I have to say.
All right, Mr. Watson.
Well, first of all, I'm at a disadvantage with everybody up here. This is my last meeting, so whatever's done by me tonight is it. Genevieve, are y'all prepared to make a presentation?
I'm prepared to answer questions that you might have, or I can speak, whatever you'd like me to do.
You know, a couple of 3 of these board members want me excluded from this thing completely. One of them has dodged it all along, as he has continued to do this evening. But I'd like to hear something similar to the presentation that all the board members have heard, so the public out there will know exactly what is being dealt with. So with that said, is anybody in your group want to do that?
That would be me.
That would be you. Howard, are you going to stay quiet?
You want me to?
Well, do you want her to do that now?
I want her to do it right now. And then I'll talk.
Well, I'm not prepared, but I'm always love to talk to a crowd, so this is my element.
Nick, I want you to listen real close now.
I've been a banker in Paulding County, come January, for 43 years. My pleasure. I've had 3 jobs, and I've always had that servant mentality. In that time, the 3 institutions that I have worked for have done loans similar to this. Just about, the county was not involved in any kind of ball fields, anything in the county years ago. There was no splosh money. It was out of leaders working on the weekends, raising money, kids washing cars, this and that. So I could go through a handful, like, you know, Ridge Road, New Georgia, Burn Hickory. I saw loans to all those in this 43 years because people would step up to the plate and want to help. So, having said that, that's where that spirit came from our board of directors. We were asked to help this school make a loan. It's my understanding that the board at that time gave permission for them to borrow the money. So we did ask, because it was a building involved, we did ask that the people that were going to borrow it, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm not going to use names. I fear, you know, I have to be very cautious due to privacy laws. But these 2 individuals did come in and they guaranteed the loan. Our agreement was we want the building constructed. We want to make sure the building gets constructed so that there will be something to show. We did, and that loan was secured by the equipment in the building. We, of course, could not take the collateral. There was no collateral to take as far as the real property because it belonged to the school board. They had a plan, and you got to remember, this was March of '08. Paulding County was on fire, for lack of a better term. The economy was robust. It was unreal what was going on. East Paulding was on a huge winning streak. They had a wonderful football team, and they were They were on fire. Those parents worked hard. Those parents had a plan for when they came to us, and we could make it work for them. So that first year they built the building, and then after the building was completed, we did release those guarantors because that was our agreement with them, and then we put it on payments. So we've rocked on all this time, and there have been so many mistruths. I think that our integrity, and I think I've shared this with, for the few that talked to us, shared this, you know, all we've got is our integrity. I've worked in this industry. I've seen so much. We have been through so much, and this is what a real community bank does. Now, would a Bank of America do this loan? No. Would a Bank of America or whoever done a lot of the lending in Paulding County? No, they would not, because they don't care. They don't have that community spirit. We have 375 people that own our bank, and they gave us $15 million to start a bank in 2005. We thought it was a great idea at the time. Matter of fact, I thought it was my grand idea. Little did I know that we were headed down the path of an economy that we were going down, but we did. And as we were all, everybody in this room had to have been affected by what has gone on in these years. And we were no different. I understand the hardship. The bank has tried so many times to help. We've offered to do simple things like Angel came up with a day to have shred day that we do for a service, and what we did, we decided that we would give money back to whatever organization that would want to work with that. And so we've even offered that to East Paulding. We've done things to try to help. The bank has donated money. We've even had some of the directors that have even given money to help them in their plight. The parents that came in, a lot of them, the new ones, you know, I understand that they said it wasn't their debt. I understand that they didn't make the decision for that debt. But the original folks did make the decision, and they became a part of that club. Are they personally liable? Absolutely they're not. But they did join the organization. It is, I think you said it well, it's hard for there to be a winner in this, as far as what's right, what's wrong. I've learned some things that I was not aware of. I think the controversy was, in the beginning, was that East wanted something special because they had a special program. And then at that point in time, the county didn't want to do it because the other schools didn't have it. So that's where that transpired. What I learned that I wasn't aware of, that after that the other students in the county were brought up to an equal standard to what East had. So that's, that in itself, I didn't realize what's equitable. Does this board owe this money? No, they do not. East Paulding Booster Club, but Football Booster Club owes this money. We understand that. That's who we loan the money to, and we get it. I even heard somebody, and this hurts because of who I am. I've been on the Paulding Education Foundation for almost since its inception. I have been president of the Chamber of Commerce. I have neglected my family to give back, and somebody called me a bully. Well, in this deal, well, quite honestly, I don't see how asking somebody to pay back a loan that they have is being a bully. I also don't understand, and I heard some parents say this at a booster club meeting. I was not raised this way. Well, just walk away. Just let the bank have it. What are we teaching our children by doing that? That's not what I taught my children. And it won't be what I teach my grandchildren. I think that's really bad. You know, everybody thinks the bank has money. Well, who is the bank? The bank is those 375 people. Yeah, I'm one of them, and I'm proud of it. I gave my life savings to start that bank. I don't regret it, not at all, but we make decisions every day. And I look around and I see all the good, and I've had customers to tell me, if it had not been for a community bank, I wouldn't have my business. I couldn't have done what I did. Those, and they're right. It wasn't me that did it for them. It was them. It was with working with the bank. So I know I can get, I'm sorry, Joe, I get a little impassioned about it. But we have been vetted by, if I see somebody wrote a letter and you know, I've heard all the stuff that they thought we did. We loaned some money to some people that had a dream to build a football program that school did not have. Was that wrong? I still don't think it was wrong. I stand by that. I think that's my presentation.
I'm sure he does, that's why I didn't ask. Howard, what do you got to say? I know you're pretty good at laying it on the table.
I think since we made the presentation, we did this back, what, a week? Things were locking in the county. These people, I'm trying to remember back in the board time. Seems like when we first built East Paulding High School, we didn't even put a stadium in out there. Is that correct?
Y'all stealing some of my thunder. Go ahead.
Well, I was just trying to think back. It's been a long time since I've been on the board, but I remember our plans initially, I believe, and you can repeat if you want to, was we was going to have East Paulding play games Friday night at Paulding County High School. From what I remember, that went over 1 year, and then you can see everything hit the fan after that. And next thing we did, we had a stadium out at East Paulding.
How'd you get that stadium, though, and who paid for it?
I'm trying to remember that, Joe. I can't remember. Did we pay for it, or did we have the boosters pay for it?
There was about, I want to say 10 individuals. It may have been more, it may have been less. But there was a number of community people, keyword there, community, just as in your bank, community. They signed a note, and that stadium happened.
It was built by the people then.
Built by the people.
And
This board and this Paulding County Board of Education, as far as the construction of that stadium, as far as I know, and I'm not an authority, but if they have any money in it, it's very little other than the upgrades and maintenance that have happened since it was constructed.
might have did some grading when they got ready to build it or something like that. But I was thinking, I was trying to remember back, and then that same group, after they got their football field going, the board had no money for the field house. So this group came to us and asked us to, help them build the field house, and that's where this loan originated. And I don't know, I've not been involved in building the other schools that's come along since then. Y'all built, I know, North Paulding, South Paulding, and I probably redid Hiram. Hiram was built after East Paulding, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yes.
Hiram, and then South Paulding, and then North Paulding was the last one. And I'm trying to think, I would imagine that each one of those schools, when they were built, had a stadium and a field house built at the same time by the board. Is that correct?
Hiram High School did not, but, well, not directly. The field house came at a later date, and it was built through some land swaps and so forth. So in essence, the district didn't pay for it.
The district did pay for the other three.
Through some land swaps and so
Yeah.
forth.
I think, my personal opinion, Mr. Watson, is that East Paulding's had a raw deal since the get-go on this, as far as, in whatever the reasons were, like Ms. Lyons said, we can't look back, but for whatever the reasons, times being what they were, money being what it was, we never did get a chance to take care of East Paulding. It's a situation, I believe, that could stand some correction right now. So I'll be glad to answer any questions if I can. But it is what it is now. We've got to move forward.
Before I get started, anybody else on that front row? Oh, you want to say anything? Well, I feel like the reason I've been excluded from this is I believe in community. Not sure how many on this board now do. I'm not a very eloquent speaker, not nearly as good as you are, however. But we got a $2 million building out there that, as far as I know, the Paulding County Board of Education owns. Is that not right?
Yes, sir.
Other than maintenance and one small repair, we don't have any money in that building. If I had been on the board at the time this was done, I probably wouldn't be very popular with that front row because I probably wouldn't have supported it. But as one of my daughters say, it is what it is. Susan, don't tell her I quote you. But we've got a situation where there's 3 winners if we do what's right. The Board of Education wins, they get a problem over with. The Booster Club would win if it was resolved, and East Paulding would win if it gets resolved properly. And, quote, the community would win. Now, whether that's worth anything to anybody on this board, I don't know. But it is to me. That's about all I got to say.
Do you have a solution?
But Cindy may come back. I may come back up after a while. I gotta put some more files in.
Okay. Go around Mr. Albright.
I wasn't prepared to speak to this issue tonight, but just to a couple of quick points. There are members on this board that do care a great deal about this community. I have 2 children that go to school in this district, and I've been out here in Paulding County for 23 years. This is my home. This is where my wife and I decided to make our home. And any and every decision that I make as a member of this board is going to be for the best interest of the students, in this particular instance, primarily East Paulding High School, but as a school system as a whole for every student. Now, some weeks ago, I brought up at the end of a school board meeting that there was a situation with a loan at East Paulding that I had asked Mr. Cole to get me some numbers on to take a look at things. As of this date, I do not have all of the information that I feel is necessary for me to come to any conclusions yet. And there is information that needs to be shared to other board members, I feel like, once it all comes in, before they can make a properly educated decision on the matter as well. So that being said, I won't speak specifically to any solutions or any history or anything else about the situation tonight, because before I do so, I want to make sure that I have all of the information that's necessary to form a proper conclusion and to form a proper resolution to this issue. So I do have one question for Ms. Cole, if I might, just so that I'm clear. The paperwork that was provided to Mr. Cole was the entire loan file with the exception of proprietary information. Was that correct?
No, it was not. I was given, I got your message.
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
wanted an 8-year history. That entailed a good bit of research for a quick turnaround that I was not able to give. The other thing is there is some personal financial data in that file that I am not comfortable in giving because of privacy issues. And so, I guess I don't understand, I'll be glad, not trying to hide anything, don't have anything to hide.
Yes, ma'am.
But the issue is that, I gave a copy of the current note,
Yes, ma'am.
and I gave a copy of the history for 8 years of payments.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know what other information that would be germane in this. And I'm certainly willing to answer your questions.
As a defense attorney, my nature is one of skepticism. Helps me perform well. I'm skeptical at this point. It's just being my nature. And I am playing my cards a little close to my vest right now because I am not looking to embarrass anybody or make any improper statements about anybody or anything else. So my question is other than personal financial statements, personal information from the parties that were involved, Lee and Ben Paris, I don't need their personal information. What I need are all of the documents that surrounded the making of this loan. Everything they signed, everything the bank signed about it. That's what I need.
And I would have to have the authorization, I would want the authorization from the club of writing as such, and you understand it.
That authorization has already been given.
Okay.
Twice, actually, I believe.
Okay, and I understood from the email the other day that that's not what I understood from the email
Yes,
from
ma'am.
one of the club members.
When we met with Mr. Brock, he actually provided a copy of the release from the Booster Club.
But I'm saying I subsequently got an email that, so I'm very confused.
I understand. So
I have all these people coming in.
it's a left-hand, right-hand thing. I understand.
And I certainly don't mind sharing that. I guess I would ask you, what is your skepticism?
a funny feeling in my gut. That's all it is right now. And so, if I guess if you could speak with Mr. Brock, he had a copy of the authorization, and if there's any further documents that pertain to this loan that are not proprietary or contain individuals' private, personal, financial information, then that would round up a lot of the questions that I have.
Well, it will take time.
I understand.
The problem is that there are names throughout the documents that we'll have to go in and make sure that the document has a narrative that has somebody's name. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that last part.
We can't give out a narrative that has someone's name in it, personal name in it.
Okay.
So my point is I'll have to go through and read 8 years of files.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I can't do that in a day.
Okay. No, and I'm not.
But the notice that I got.
No, I understand, and that's not what is expected. At this point, the only thing that I want to do is to make sure that the right decision gets made, that the best decision gets made for the community, for the bank, for the board, for East Paulding, for everybody involved, and so in order to be able to formulate a conclusion, I think it's important that all of that information be out there. So whatever time frame it is that you need in order to achieve that goal, I am absolutely just, I'll support you in whatever time frame it is that you need.
And also, from the board, when I do that, I would expect a confidentiality agreement.
I'm sorry?
I would expect a confidentiality agreement signed by the board as well.
Okay.
Because
We'll,
we just can't have, if you go back to the privacy issue, it's not documents that I would, and again, I don't have anything to hide. There's nothing to hide, and I don't mind sharing it with you at all.
yes, ma'am.
No problem whatsoever.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. And I don't think names have to be mentioned here. I think there's a lot of good people and on both sides of this, and I think this was a good thing and a good dream and a good team to try to put it together. Unfortunately, no one knew what was going to happen soon after that. At this time, there weren't many of us on the board. I do remember sitting in the audience during this time, seeing people coming and going and wondering what's going on. So what I try to do is go back to the facts. I don't want to listen to people blame somebody and blame somebody else, and this caused a lot of turmoil for a lot of people over the years. What I try to go back to is the minutes, the legal minutes of this board at the time. And when I go back and look, everything I see mentions East Paulding High School Fieldhouse. It mentions a partnership. It mentions a partnership with a financial impact, the school district not to exceed $450,000. And based on the minutes, it says the motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation to award a bid. The bid was for $450,000. It said discussion was held on the private donations to be made for the field house. It mentions an employee's name who was going to make sure that all construction on the field house would mention meet the state code and district requirements. And it goes on to mention again, all private donations would be documented in signed form stating the donation was provided and that all donated items are the property of the school district. The total estimate for the field house included the school district's portion and donated funds, $750,000 to $850,000. My problem is not one time in any of this for those years was a loan mentioned. And I feel like these parents who've been trying to fundraise and do all this stuff for all these years, I want to know how many of them signed this loan, because all this mentions is private donations. And that's all we have to go on. If there were private donations made for that stadium at East Paulding High, I don't have a problem with that. There's no problem with it. There's no one expected to pay it back. It was a donation. And I guess that's where my heart is. I see all sides of this hurting. But when you look back at what the board at that time voted on, it says they voted to let private donations put a building on that lot. And now we've got people working their tail off to pay for a loan, and I can't foresee where that loan came from. So I hope I definitely know there's one thing that I think everybody sitting here agrees on. We need to resolve this, and I hope we do that so that everybody can walk away and we can just move forward and get back to being a community again. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. McClure, you want me to say anything, or do you want me to follow after you, or?
Go ahead.
I just wanted
be the last one
to
to
share
speak.
some information, and going back to what Mr. Maxwell said, I think that original group was called EPIC, the East Paulding Improvement Committee. And I've tried to go back and do research, and we talked about not having the facility there. Also have learned, and Jason Freeman sitting out in the audience, principal, and Jason was at East Paulding, but I also know that group did everything from pouring sidewalks out there to complete, like I said, I think from what I can figure out, I think the only thing the district did was put the lights in there. But when you compare, going back to this initial field house, at one point, just going back through the budget, there was a field house in the budget. but somehow it got pulled, it got cut, or whatever, and I think that's how this came about. The $450,000, from what I recall, was to extend the wall out at East Paulding High School. It was going to be a weight room, extended the weight room, because at the time, and Jason can verify this, or Coach Cutts can verify this, the weight room, to be honest, was inefficient. So at that time, Paulding County High School had a field house. It was approximately 7,500 square feet. Paulding County High School also has since then, we've added a weight room there, which is 5,000 square feet. Hiram High School's field house was 9,900 square feet. We had built South Paulding High School field house, 6,684 square feet. So even at the time with what the district was looking at doing, it would have still left East Paulding High School without a field house. It would have expended the weight room out, but there would not have been a field house. And again, I think this is where some of this comes about. The cost associated with North Paulding High School, based on the square footage, was about 180 square feet, or $180 a square foot at the time. So East Paulding High School at field house at the time would have ran about $1.25 million. South Paulding High School, again, it was a little over $1 million. Mr. Watson mentioned $2 million building out at East Paulding High School, but if you took the lowest square footage, that field house is massive. It's 24,000 square feet. That field house would be well in excess of $3 million to build. We have gone back, and Ms. Cobb mentioned it to be built to state specs, and as far as I know that it was built to the minimum state specs. We did go back and have to repair, shore up a wall there. Cost the district about $31,000, and we have replaced the flooring there at East Paulding High School. So again, when you look at the equity there, it was the lack of the field house. You know, I was not a part of that decision back in 2007, 2008. You know, my job is to look at what's best for the students of Paulding County, and in this situation, what's best for the students at East Paulding High School. I know it's been a strain on the Booster Club to make those payments. I also know that the school has either directly made some payments, or they have worked out and paid for equipment, uniforms that the Booster Club would typically buy for a school. So in essence, this has an impact on every student within that school. It's not just the athletes, it's every student in that school, because some of those funds that the school is using to either support the Booster Club or help make those payments could go back to the programs in the school. I know it's a burden on the school. I know it's a burden on the administration. I don't know if it's been a direct impact, but you've gone through 2 coaches out there pretty quick, and I know it's a burden on them to try to fundraise. As it's been said up here, this needs to be resolved. We need to do what's best for students. And Jason, I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot, but anything that I said need to be clarified, or?
No, I mean, a lot of great points. It does put a burden on the school, and even provides a little bit of dissension at times. You know, it is said it's a football field house. You know, we've worked real hard because you have soccer games, lacrosse games. You know, so as you say that it was set up kind of that the football boosters would pay for the top half, which is the dressing room, the coaches' offices, things of that nature, and the school would pay for the bottom half, which is the weight room, which all students access. Well, really, you know, I can understand from a football booster, when I first arrived at East Paulding summer before last, you know, it was amazing to me that some of the members of the football booster club board had the mindset that the other kids didn't need to use that top half because the football boosters were paying for it. Their booster club wasn't paying for it. So we kind of talked through that, and that this facility is going to be available for all kids to use. But it's just a constant, you know, the way everything was set try to say, hey, we need to be in one accord and be all in this together. Mr. Cole mentioned, you know, there's been times as I went back and looked and tried to figure out how we could take some of the financial burden. When I say we, I mean the school. There's been times where, way before me getting there, and even times after I got there, that in order for the football boosters to be able to make the payment, we would take, you know, payments for helmet reconditioning or other things that the boosters would typically pay for. We would take on those payments as a school so that it would give them an opportunity to have enough money to make that month's payment. So it's a little bit deceiving to say that they've rocked along and always been able to easily make the payments over the years. That's certainly not the case. I have a little bit of a unique perspective on it. I drove some of the first nails in the field house at Paulding County Field House when I was in the 7th grade. And Gordon Lawrence was a construction teacher at Paulding County High School, and we started building that thing. So, have been in East Paulding High School 14 years ago as a teacher and coach when all the football coaches dressed in about a 20 by 20 room, and the football players dressed in the back of the PE locker rooms in the gym. So I've seen a little bit of everything with it and feel like I have a great perspective in the county. And I just know that at the end of the day, I know it's not the intention of anyone to hurt kids, but that's what this does financially at the school level, I think, because it takes away from other things we're able to provide and do for kids as we use that money to try to make sure because hey, my dad is one of the person that Jimmy Cole mentioned that his business wouldn't have been possible without their bank. So I'm old school too. You don't walk away from it. We're going, I had said to the football boosters, you walk away, we're going to figure out a way, some way to keep doing it because you don't just walk away from it and say, we're not going to pay this anymore. That's not the right thing to do. So, certainly I love all these people up here. I've known them all my life, and I see what the problems that it causes us at the school level, being at East Paulding for the second year as a principal. It's tough to talk people through it and try for there not to be any hard feelings or animosity towards different programs at the school level.
I don't, whether you think it was right or wrong 8 years ago when that loan was taken out of the board agreed to go in this agreement with the Booster Club. I think it's our responsibility to make it what's right and do what's right for students. And that's where I stand, Mr. McClure.
Okay, thank you.
I got a couple more questions. I don't know, maybe I should. Are we questioning the legality of this loan?
I don't know that, Judge. I mean, it's a corporation. The Paulding, East Paulding High School Booster Club is a corporation, and they entered into a contract 8 years ago, and 3 subsequent renewals of that first loan.
Well, you know how I feel about borrowing. And I feel if money is owed, money should be paid. Now, who pays it out of this deal? School board's got the deepest pocket. The boosters have struggled with this thing for 8 years. It hadn't worked. And, it needs to be resolved. Now, I'm skeptical as to the resolution because it's going to split the community, I think, regardless of it. And that's a shame.
Okay, I hope everybody has been listening to all the things that were said. I was working for the school system in another capacity at the time of while this transpired. And there are two things that I think everybody needs to look at when we deal with this. And those two words basically are provision and equity. And when you look back at where everybody else is and what everybody else has, East Paulding should be made whole for those two things, provision and equity, that everybody else has gotten paid for except Paulding County High School, who was the very beginning. But everybody else has got the things that they want at a certain cost. We're looking at a cost here of a number that is certainly less than what the field houses cost at North Paulding and at South Paulding and at Hiram to resolve this particular issue. And like Mr. Watson said, I think the school system has the pockets to do it. It didn't have the pockets to do it in the beginning. That's why it was cut. But over the years, you want to make people whole, and it has not been done. And because we've not made people whole, the school, the Booster Club, and everybody else has been struggling. And they talked about being old Paulding. I'm old Paulding. I was born and raised here, went to school here. And many of the children that belong to some of you, I was their principal for a number of years. And you want to see things work out equitably for every school. You don't want your school to be left out and everybody else to get a great benefit from the things that are going on just because you happen to be a little younger than they are. Just because you weren't built at a time when the economy was booming and there was money to be spent doesn't mean that you don't need and you don't deserve the kinds of things that the other students have. To me, it's almost like saying, okay, Paulding County, we're going to buy textbooks for you, but East Paulding's going to struggle without them. When we get enough money, we'll buy textbooks for them and we'll give them to them. Doesn't work that way. Life is not built that way. It's not made that way. The thing that Teresa said early in our conversation by the friend that she was talking, he was absolutely right. The school system is reaping the benefits of the building right now. But look at all the ancillary things that are going on around it that cause problems and that cause headaches for everybody concerned. And, you know, it's almost like no good deed by the bank goes unpunished. You know, here we are, we're loaning money to do this and do that to try to help the schools out. And now we're having the suffering and we're having to wear the hat of the bad guy because we need to collect. So, board members, look at it whichever way you want to. My recommendation would be for the board to pay the remainder of this loan to the bank and try to patch our school and booster clubs and everybody else back together so that we're not fighting against one another and got dissension going on because of it. It's our job to provide. If we have not provided, now we are able to step up to the plate. So what do we need to do? We need to provide. And that's all I have to say.
Any other questions, comments?
Doing the right thing with this loan, resolving this issue fairly, equitably across the board, whatever that turns out to be, whatever decision that turns out to be for the board. None of the decision that's just based, none of it should be based on the fact that the school board has deep pockets. That's offensive. Our job is to look out for every penny. You know, there's an old saying, you watch the nickels and dimes and the dollars will take care of themselves. It's our job to set policies and to make policies that help this school system.
It is our job also, Mr. Albright, to provide. And we didn't.
You're right. This was done against the express recommendation of the superintendent at the time. There were a whole lot of mistakes made in the history of this loan. And I'm not talking about rehashing all the old history. And I'm not talking about reaching one-sided conclusions about this either.
Well, I apologize if I offended you using the term deep pockets. We've got more money than the Booster Club. Is that okay now?
Booster Club's got more money than I do. What does that matter?
I don't guess to you anything.
So, I'm done.
All right. At this point, Mr. Cole, do you have a recommendation?
Well, my recommendation would be the school district pay the loan. Like I said, we need to do what's best for the students. It's been a dark cloud. It will continue to be a dark cloud. And my recommendation would be to, like I said, pay the loan, the district pay the loan, and we move forward in a positive direction.
All right. The board has heard the recommendation coming from the superintendent that the Board of Education be responsible for paying off the loan and that we move forward in a positive direction. Do I hear a motion coming from the board?
Point of order, Mr. McClure. Shouldn't a action agenda be amended?
Excuse me?
Shouldn't the agenda be amended?
Okay, you want the agenda amended so that we can put this as an action item?
Mr. McClure, let me recognize Ms. Gupta in the back. She's, since Mr. Cable has recused himself in any of the, I guess, formal proceedings, I guess she could guide us on. So thank you for being here at short notice. So.
The discussion ended though? Are we completely done with discussion before we move on? Or?
I don't know. I guess that'll be a point of order for the chairman, Mr. McClure. Where are we with this? Are we discussing it still, or we amending the action agenda?
Okay, well, let me apologize. I should have asked you, excuse me. Is there any further discussion on the matter?
I do have a question. I just want to go back. If you could read the, because I'm all for being equitable, and I know that's what may have gotten us in the first place. But I'm still getting complaints from Hiram that they don't have a restroom room and so does. So if you read the square footage earlier of the different field houses. Would you read the high schools and the square footage of each field house? Because my fear is if we do something like this, then everybody's going to say, we all need a 24,000 square foot field house. And I just don't know how we can continue to pay for it. So if I could just get the square footage of each high school's field house so that I kind of know what's equitable and what's not.
And if you want to look at what's equitable, I think you could look at the price that's paid for each too.
But the wrestling people at Hiram this Paulding, they want a wrestling field. They don't care how much we pay for it. They want square footage like somebody else has. And what do I tell them? I tell them, no, I'm sorry, we don't have the money.
Square footage at North, 6,981.
I'm sorry, that's current, or was that in 2008? Or?
That's current field house. All these are current. South Paulding, 6,684. Paulding's field house is 7,500. Again, they have an additional building that's a weight room that's 5,000 square feet. Hiram High School is 9,900 square feet.
So we've got.
Do you have the cost with that too? Or?
I can give the only cost that I have, because I cannot go back to, like I said, based on the square foot, north and south were both built as a package. Based on the average, it was 180. North was $180 a square foot for the facility, which comes out to $1,256,500. $1,256,580. I did not figure south. It depends on the low end. It'd be a little over $1 million, and that was again 2006. The high end would be about 1.3 million.
So it's not exactly apples to apples.
Correct.
Do you have can you get that information? Will that take some?
It would be estimate, because back then, Facility Group was building those facilities, and they did not, like, price it individually. It was in a package deal, so it was based off the square foot of the complex.
Is that something you could put together, though?
Again, it'd be an estimate. It's not, and we've talked to RKR, I can't get an exact figure for that field house. What they told me is that they would base it off, on the low end, $150 per square foot.
I'd like to see the numbers as close as possible. I know it's still ballpark, but,
Yeah.
you know, if possible, I'd
Like
to
I
see
said,
that
with North,
as close as possible.
like I said, that one is as close as it could get. And that was the one that was built shortly after East. Like I said, it was $180 a square foot, which came out to, like I said, $1.25 million round ballpark figure.
Well, if you could get the other schools too, that would be useful information, so, thank you.
When he was talking about the East Paulding bleachers and the stadium,
What that includes, I don't know.
what did we spend on the stadium at Hiram High School?
That was built in 1998, so Hiram opened in 99, so that facility took place in 98, 99.
Or just general, how much does the stadium cost?
I can't answer. I mean, I don't know.
Ballpark.
It was before my time.
We're just, in general, we're building schools now.
So we haven't built a stadium since North, so.
The biggest problem is, like Superintendent Cole mentioned, we've been trying to research this for a number of weeks, but the general contractor on the north and south was Arcade Reading Company. But again, the project managers was Facility Group, and RKR did not have access to any of the individual submittals to know what each individual portion of that project cost. And trust me, they've been, Jeff Smith and his group, Richard, has been trying to research this for several weeks, but there's no documents they have available that they can use to generate accurate costs for north and south.
But, I'm sorry. Would I be safe to say that it's in excess of $385,000 to build a stadium? I can't
And
imagine.
here again, I'm a little bit reluctant to state that because I've not done any research tonight. The last stadium we built again was North Paulding High School, and we don't have any data on what that particular segment of the whole project cost.
So I feel like it would be safe to say that you could pass way more than $389,000, $65,000 it is, that we did not have to spend on this building. So when we're talking about equitability between the schools, you've got square footage, but you've also got how much money have we put into that school for this program, for the football stadium and the football at the field house, to, equitable to each school. So I think investing or paying this loan to the bank for the Booster Club is still not going to be as much as what we spent on the stadiums at the other schools. So from an apples to apples, how much is the bottom line? I'm a bottom line girl. With the bottom line, how much we spent on the football field and the football field house is not going to be inequitable to what we have spent at the other high schools, if you look at it on the bottom line, dollar for dollar. So I think we can justify, and that building is on our property, and our students are using it. And what Mr. Jason Freeman, said I had not thought about through this whole process. And I know how much y'all have had to, the stress it's put on you and your financial department and the Booster Club. And I really want to see that Booster Club relieved so that they can move forward. We got a whole new group of kids and parents and people who want to really work hard in that program. And when you said, and Mr. Cole said the same thing, is that money that you're having to spend out of your school budget is taken away from money that you could spend on other programs in the school. That's a huge thing. And what's most important to me is not what happened in the past, But today, on December 13th it is, 2016, I want this thing to move forward and not backwards and do what's equitable. And I can justify by what I've heard tonight and in the past, but especially what Mr. Watson said about the stadium being built by the community. That justifies paying for that field house as an equitable from a financial standpoint. We have our financial guy back there if he has anything to say, but are we within reason? Well, tell me your name again. Yes.
Nina.
Nina. Okay. May I call you Nina?
Certainly.
Okay. Do you have any input as far as from a legal standpoint for this board?
Actually, don't we need a vote to hire outside counsel?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we
okay,
have
then I won't ask any questions. Never mind. That's fine. I'm sorry. I'm glad. We appreciate you being here.
Sure.
When I got a call that this was going to be on the agenda today, Mr. Cole was nice enough to let us know Friday afternoon. It was made clear to us this was going to be discussion only, so I'm a little miffed at why we're hearing recommendation when this is not on the action agenda, and we were told it was not going to be on the action agenda tonight because there are other people that showed interest in coming tonight, and I said it's not on the action agenda. So therefore, I guess I'm trying to figure out, is this the time for recommendation or not? Because I feel like we need to discuss this further and sit down and get more, maybe get these figures that some people have questions about.
And there are legal issues that surround this as well, and I believe it is prudent, absolutely prudent, that we discuss this with outside counsel prior to making any recommendations or votes.
What are the legal issues?
One, we're a public entity, and if someone requires us to enter into a non-disclosure agreement, that would be a violation of the Open Records Act. We can't do things behind closed doors without legal counsel, and a public entity can't sign a non-disclosure agreement about public transactions. Now, that's just my novice opinion, but I personally wouldn't want to do anything violating the law. But
and we have been given releases have been signed to share information with this board in terms of what the loan documents are. But in order to resolve this, it's important that every single member of this board understand everything that's been discovered so far in making a decision. And so, in order to disclose that information, I think it's prudent to have outside counsel give us a recommendation on how we should proceed in releasing, if we're even able to at all, that information.
If every board member should have this information, why was I excluded?
I don't know.
I think you probably do.
Are you calling me a liar?
No, I just said, I think you
Have I talked to you at all about this?
No, and that's part of the problem.
Have I talked to you about this? I haven't talked to anybody else about this yet.
Can we keep this dignified, please?
Oh, I wish we could. Thank you. So no, I haven't purposely excluded you, and if you want to sit down here for 15, 20 minutes, I'll show you everything that I've got so far. Personally, I don't know why you're trying to make recommendations without having seen any of the paperwork anyway. It didn't make any sense to me.
Have I made a recommendation?
Beg pardon?
Have I made a recommendation?
You did earlier.
What?
To resolve the issue by paying the note.
I did not say that.
Well, maybe I misunderstood what you said. So you haven't made any recommendations. That's fine.
point of order, Mr. Chairman, where are we at with this? Are we still discussing?
Right now, we are disagreeing with one another. on whatever points of order there are. At this particular point in time, you requested that this should be added to the agenda. On the action agenda is basically what you asked. Okay. I was unaware that you were told that there would not be a vote. I knew it was under discussion, but I was not aware of the fact that you had said that there would not be a vote.
I just assumed it would be on the action agenda
I
if they're voting on it.
I did not say it was, I just said it was going to be under discussion, and that's what we did not discuss, it'd be
Right.
under the discussion items. I was asked what my recommendation would be, and I
Yes,
stated it.
right, exactly.
So why, I guess my question is, if there could have been a vote, why didn't we put it on the action agenda?
When Mr. McClure and I spoke, said we put it under discussion items. But again, my recommendation would have been the same, and we talked about it, so that should not surprise anyone.
Well, I make a motion, we put it on the action agenda for what it's worth.
I would second that. It's not like any other thing that can be moved.
I can't hear you from,
He made the motion.
Ms. Lyons. There you go.
I would like to recommend that it be placed on, well, him to second his motion to have it placed on the action agenda, because I would like to see this not go back another minute to any more documents. The problem we have is what are we going to do moving forward, not pointing fingers, not digging up old wounds, moving forward. If we can agree on what we want to do, and if we can agree that the school should take on the responsibility, or the board should take on the responsibility, and when we vote on it, then we can move forward. Now, I can pretty much guarantee you the direction that this is going to go, but for me to share my personal feeling on it, I want it to be resolved as quickly as possible. We've had 8 years to resolve it, and it's not been resolved. And honestly, I really want to start the new year off fresh and this behind us. So I will second his motion.
okay, it's been motioned and seconded, motion by Mr. Watson and seconded by Ms. Lyons, that we move the East Paulding Fieldhouse loan to the action agenda. All in favor of the motion on the floor, let it be known by a show of hands. All opposed? Okay, so we've got a 3-3 tie, and we have no way to break that tie at this particular time, so basically the tie says that the motion fails. So at this point, we'll turn it over to Mr. Pearl, and we'll move forward with the rest of the action agenda.
Okay, we will move to the action agenda. So,
Okay, the first item on the action agenda is asset disposals for December. We have a list there. And Stephen, I did have a question, or someone, in regards to TVs. What do we do with the old TVs? Dispose of them?
Do y'all dispose how? By auction, or how do we? You're kidding. Are these things all busted up or something? Can I? Okay, because, my son wants a new gaming TV, and I would love to have my big TV back. I'd love to buy one of those 27 inches if I could. I mean, are they up for sale? I mean, if it's still any good. So the next auction, okay. I thought that stuff went into auctions per routine. Okay. Right. No. Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion your assets disposal for the
Yeah, I was being tongue in cheek a
So
little
we request approval of the asset disposal list for December.
Okay, superintendent's recommendation, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
With the motion.
Second,
by
yes,
Mr.
sir.
Albright. Any other questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have an intergovernmental agreement lease for adult education, the GED program. This is with the Cobb County School District, and we've talked for years about bringing the adult ed into our facility, and we have an opportunity to do that with the Wright Innovation Center. So you have the agreement there before you, so I'd like to recommend approval of the intergovernmental lease of real property with the Cobb County School District.
Okay, we have Mr. Cole's recommendation. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Albright with the motion, Chester with the second. Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have a deed and easement, and this is for the lift station up at Burn Hickory Elementary. The district built the sewer facility up there. We did not intend to go into the sewer business. It had been brought up to code, and at this time we would like to deed this over and the easement to Paulding County. So I'd like to recommend to deed the lift station located at Burn Hickory Elementary School to the county and grant the county an egress easement to the facility. And they need that to get back there to work on the pump station if there's an issue.
We have the superintendent's recommendation. The board entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Chester, the motion, Mr. Albright with the second. Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have policy JGJA. This is suicide prevention, and this was presented at the October 11th board meeting, and it's been available for public input since. So with that being said, I'd like to request approval of policy JGJA, suicide prevention.
I have Mr. Cole's recommendation. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Albright with the motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Chester. Any questions? Mr. Knapp?
I did have a question.
Okay.
When I was going through all the information and everything, I didn't see any specifics on the training, only that training take place. Are they leaving that training based on certain guidelines up to the individual districts? Will we develop a policy on that training, or is that going to be dictated later?
We already have the training. The training's already in place.
I see, okay.
And we're following the model policy from the DOE. If you click on if you look at the board policy, at the very bottom of the page, there's a link references to the JGJAE-1.
Hang on one second.
The very last sentence.
Oh, I got you, okay.
If you click on that, it sends you to the model policy, which is the training manual. And then we develop training
You have further questions?
No, sir. No,
Mr.
sir.
Scott, you have a question?
Yeah, did you get any public input?
Not at all.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Item E is nutrition. This is our large kitchen equipment bid for 2016, and this bid will go to multiple vendors. This bid was a part of the cohort is approved by Lumpkin County on 1/11/16. One item was bidded separately by Paulding County, but again, it goes to various vendors based on pricing, and you have that information there. So I'd like to request approval as presented.
We have the superintendent's recommendation. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Albright with the motion.
Second.
Mr. Chester with the second. Any questions from Ms. Mathis? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have a copy paper bid, and I'd like to request approval to award invitation to bids number 17-16-1118-.01. And this is copy paper to American Paper and Twine. This is for an initial period of 6 months, January 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2017. This bid has a renewal option for up to 6 months based on performance and quality, and it would maintain the current price per case. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Cochran, this is a little cheaper than our last one. Is that correct?
Currently paying $25.50 a case. We're down to $24.70 a case.
So I'd like to request approval.
Okay, we have a recommendation from Mr. Cole. Motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Second?
Second?
Ms. Cobb, second.
Sorry.
So, any more questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we'll go into our bids and RFP. These are all renewals. First is renewal of the employee benefits broker services. And this is a request for proposal number 04-2306, employee benefits broker service with Shaw Hankins of Cartersville, Georgia. This will be for 12 months, beginning January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2017, and an option to renew for up to 36 months with proven quality, performance, and service. So I would like to make that recommendation.
So we have a superintendent's recommendation. Board and chair entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Albright, second. I'll make the second. Any questions on that one?
I just like to say, I know Shaw Haken's representative isn't here, but our employees, from what I'm hearing, there's obviously some issues with the benefits, but that has more to do with the federal government and the state. But the process over the last couple of years in terms of getting the information and explaining the benefits is vastly improved. So I wanted to say that publicly because it's been a big difference, at least that part of it. So.
Any other comments, Ms. Cobb?
I would like to say too, the representatives have been very involved in our helping with some of our education foundation, and I actually work for some competition, but I haven't heard anything negative about Shaw Hankins, and I appreciate their service.
Okay. Anybody else? The motion and second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have RFP 08-2715, fire extinguisher and kitchen hood services. Again, this is a renewal with West Georgia Fire Extinguisher Corporation. This is the second of 3 potential renewal periods. It's an option for 36 months with proven quality, performance, and price. So I would like to recommend RFP 08-2715, kitchen fire extinguishers and hood services to West Georgia Fire Extinguisher Incorporated.
Okay, we have the recommendation from Mr. Cole. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Ms. Lyons with a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. McClure with the second. Any questions?
Is there a bid tabulation or anything that goes with this?
One company that responded was one company considered a renewal back in those regions.
Okay.
They did not increase their pricing for the previous cycle or this cycle.
If possible, can we have that added to the minute meetings, just so it is reflected that nobody else bid on it? Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, raise your hand. I'm sorry. 7-0. I'm sorry.
Next, we have RFP 09-1801, wireless communication renewal. This is with Verizon Wireless for an additional 1-year period, beginning January 1, 2017 through December 31st, 2017. And this is our 3rd and final renewal with Verizon. So we would like to request renewal, request for proposal 09-1801, wireless communication with Verizon Wireless.
We have the superintendent's recommendation. The board. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Albright with the motion. We have a second.
Second.
Ms. Chester, any questions? All in in favor, raise your hand.
No, Mr. Watson.
Motion carries 7-0. That's all at that time.
Next, we have RFP 10-0902, septic and grease trap pumping services. Again, this is a renewal with Hamby's Commercial Waste. This is the third and final renewal. It remains at the current cost structure. So we'd like to recommend approval to renew the request for proposal 10-0902, septic and grease trap pumping services with Hamby's Commercial Waste Incorporated.
Here we have superintendent's recommendation. Chair will entertain a motion. So moved. Lyons, got a second? Cobb, second. Any questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Curl, before we move forward, Tom, would you like to release her to go?
I was gonna talk to her if I could.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
During her break, but
Yeah.
if y'all want her to leave, we'll make her leave. I hated her to drive all in, not speak to her.
Good point.
Next, we have RFP 14-1017. This is our lawn care maintenance renewal. To Kelly Landscape Management, this did go up in cost, and it's due to the addition at Shelton and the expansion of the lawn care out there. And this is the second of 3 potential renewals with continued support of the district lawn care needs. So I did like to make that recommendation to renew request for proposal for lawn care maintenance to Kelly Landscape Management Incorporated.
Okay, we have the superintendent's recommendation. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, the motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Lyons has a second. Any questions on that?
Are they going to pick up the Diane Wright Innovation Center as well, or?
We haven't, we would do that, correct?
It was, because it was an elementary school, it was originally under the outsourced contract.
Oh, okay.
Being that it's, again, they were responsible for the pruning of that school already. We were responsible for the construct of that. So again, that's not been something that's been addressed.
Okay.
Do you anticipate, I guess, for the next school year, addressing it if we're going to have people coming in and we rent space?
Go ahead, Jacob.
Being that we are entering into a renewal of this, we will probably be taking some of that in-house so that we would be, absorbing that aspect of it, because it's something that was not taken into consideration at this time because of the fact that we are renewing in the middle of the fiscal year.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Next, we have our field trip report. This is for out-of-state, charter, or overnight trips. You have 9 of those presented to you there, and I'd like to request approval of those as presented.
Okay, we got a superintendent's recommendation. Chair will entertain a motion. Ms. Cobb is the motion. Is there a second? I'll make the second. Any questions on it, on the field trips? All in favor? Raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, moving on to points of information, we have our monthly clinic report. I do want to make a correction, North Paulding High School under wellness visits, that should be 60 and not 600. And do I have any questions regarding the clinic report? If not, before we adjourn to executive session, I do want to recognize Mr. U.S. Davidson and Ms. Francia Brown. They're in the back there. They're with the Cobb County School District. Francia will be the director for the Adult Ed Center, and they have been great to work with through this transition. And just like to say welcome. We're very excited about the center and you guys being part of our district as well. So thank you for being here tonight. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for this session.
Okay, the Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the executive session for hardship transfers, short-term suspension report, tribunal report, personnel, and invite our attorney to go with us.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, just with a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. Thank you all for coming. We'll be gone a little bit, and then we will come back. So, Sarah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's true.
I understand.
And likely, we still got a little ways to go.
And Sarah, I wanted to say too, there is some, the biggest issue out there is that people see that there's no flexibility. There is some flexibility. I have there is some flexibility there, which some of the things we wouldn't work through. I wish there ideally there's not a perfect schedule for everyone.
It's just my nature to be skeptical about everything.
Again, I appreciate you. I know I get nervous standing over there, so you did an awesome job.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? They gave me all these fine cards for the board, and I don't even know anything.
Well, thank you for being strong enough to voice your views.
Thank you.
Okay?
Exactly.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
When I took the time it's turned on, except for my crazy client, he kept buzzing me during the whole thing, and I finally turned it off because I kept. So I finally turned it off. Well, and I told him before I was on the phone before I walked in here. I said I'm about to walk into a meeting. I'll call you tomorrow. And called me 4 times. I'll probably go to the grave when it's Yep.
Yes, all of that.
Where's your ID badge?
Right. No, getting it.
If this works in the back door, you can use it. Are you leaving? Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson. You leaving?
Well, no. All this. Okay. Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, she's done presentations down there.
Yeah.
Francia. Thank you. I'm great. How are you doing? Well, we are too. So, and you know, I did not realize until I saw her, but one of my former teachers works for you, Betty Budden.
Yeah.
I was a principal. Betty was one of my teachers when I was a principal at Shelton Elementary. You remember Betty Budden, don't you?
Yeah, Miss Betty?
Yeah, she's
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
What I also try, the big thing I try to teach my kids are they're getting better how to mistake. Yeah. Make a mistake before you fix it. And so, I was around back before I went to law school. Okay, good. I had a mortgage program, and I did financial planning. I had 7 licenses. I spent I didn't exactly.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the relationship, appreciate friend Sia. She's been wonderful to work with.
So got to move on.
You haven't been out there yet, have you? We're excited about it. We're excited about it. So we hope it's a facility that truly beats y'all's needs.
All I'm saying is that, you can't make a promise. Everybody's involved.
Appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, with that.
Sorry about that. No, that's not typical.
This is not typical. Right. I've been here 20 years. That's the first time I've seen it.
The only thing that we need right now, okay, is for the school. That's it. I've seen the school, just the school. None of this is going to go beyond the school.
Yeah.
No way you know.
Yeah.
Possibly. He's an attorney like me. He's looking at worst case scenario. Now, at that point, we absolutely would have to go back and get everybody's permission to be able to do so. If we didn't, then we couldn't.
Jason.
But he's looking at worst case scenario, like any good lawyer.
You don't have to stay if you just want to. I don't think that I can handle it.
Right. But nothing goes. Anything that you give us goes stays right here with the 7 board members. That's it. Yeah, that's absolutely. So. Yeah, give me a call. The next couple of days, I'm kind of swamped, but first next week, I'm good. Okay? Even over the weekend, because I don't plan to do anything this weekend except split some wood with my boy and sit in front of a fireplace. Well, we finally had our first fire night before last. Okay, and I told Matt, I said, Matt, make sure you open the flue, right? Well, the problem was he opened it, or he thought he opened it. What I forgot to do was I didn't close it at the end of last year. So he wound up closing it when he thought he was open, and next thing you know, I said, Steph, you smell that? He goes, what's up? I said, Matt, what you doing? So he was in the kitchen. He went in there and spoke. So I don't have anything to do this weekend except sit in front of a fireplace, watch some football, chill out and relax. You take care. How you doing, sir?
Yep, I'm good, Mr. Albright. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Wonderful. Good to see you again.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
Okay.
I don't see any issues.
Okay. Sure.
Do you want somebody to give you a call?
Okay.
Yeah, just,
yeah.
Okay.
I told him I would shoot you a text, to let him know.
Right. Well, and I was kidding. I can't buy that stuff anymore.
Okay.
Right. 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 Gotcha. Well, here's my, and I was actually talking to Stephanie about this, okay? We know a lot of families, all together, okay? And they're TVs, right? And so, if they, we talked about the computer stuff before, but it's a TV, right? And if there were TVs that were salvaged, if there were TVs that were any good, right? We would be willing to buy those and then give those to some of the families that didn't have to, and stuff. But I don't think, but I couldn't do that myself because being a board member. But anyway, so. But I hate waste. I hate it. Yeah. Right. Well, it would cost you more to haul them off than it would be to do anything else with them. Yeah. Okay, so whatever's there left on the list is going bye-bye. Or no, the stuff that's giving away is going by, everything's going bye-bye, some of it's going. I got you. Okay. All right. Well, right, we don't want to do it. Okay. Well, if y'all are going to wind up donating whatever, then those needy families, somebody's probably going to filter down this anyway. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Appreciate it, brother.
touch base with you tomorrow. I mean, not that I can help, but at least I'll set up the process.
Brian may want to
Force them to come in and defend themselves.
Brian may want to talk as well, just for the simple fact that he was kind of shaking his head when he was looking at some of those, because he was like, well, I talked to Butch about this beforehand. Anyway.
All right, man. Well, you out here?
Yeah, I think I'm.
Mosey in, I would.
I think I'm ready.
All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, see you.
Hey, Saturday. Well, Abby came. Turns out, and I'm having to talk with Abby, she's looking at her calendar, she's gonna start, you know, if she commits, if she needs to write it down. Her cousin is a special needs, and they have a prom in Rome on Saturday night. And so she got dressed, and, so she's going with him. But, how is it? And I just sent her a text and said, but maybe you'd rather have them both there. They could do Friday, they could do Sunday, they could do Saturday. I mean, Allie can probably do Saturday. I just sent her a text, but she's a band, their band is supposed to. So I think I'll hear from her later.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Suzanne? Can you hear me?
It's just that Amy Logan wants to show she can more than the, it's every single hour. She just in different place every day. She enjoys it. Well, I mean, I took a picture. This is weird. It's our neighborhood. It's his motorcycle. It just shows up in weird places. It's really kind of weird. And it's been at my house 5 mornings under the fire. And I don't know if it did things. Just Friday, Saturday. Just put that alarm on when they cranked it up. Gotcha. He took a picture of it. Oh, I'll put it through. She was actually focused on the side of the curve, so people are having that deal. At night, you can just he's the man right here. This girl. Okay, let's make a condition on the girl. Since she was bad, she was with the girl.
Steve,
Yeah, that's
what you could tell, I mean, if they wanted to do it another time, Matt and I are apparently gonna go look at cars at some point.
Yes, you are.
So,
I can guarantee you.
it would be helpful if we didn't have 2 children in tow while doing that, so. How about we'll like leave them on Friday and we'll go out on Friday, and then we'll.
Save for the car.
Yeah.
Car shop.
Save for the car shop, because you know that'll be like a $700 deal.
I think Abby would be excited about that because she didn't want to miss. She was upset. She wanted to do
We'll
both.
do that.
I'll take up the shirt again. I'll take a bunch of keepers, some gadgets.
That's really the only question for me is, well, I thought to get my handful of crystals, so when I get home, or do we actually have something for them?
It's no witch witch. I've never been to a big witch. Just been to us. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Take a little test drive. Oh, you've never seen it? You haven't seen what you bought?
Just got that battery. Just got recharged.
Being very patient back
Battery
here.
step in the car too.
It's 145 bucks, and that was after the tour.
Where's her battery at? Is it one of those ones that's in the engine compartment?
In the Jeep? Yeah, it's up front.
Donna's is in her truck. It's in the interior, underneath the.
Did you try it?
Underneath the rear passenger side seat. It's a compartment in the middle. You gotta lift the seat up.
What kind of car she got?
GMC or K. Yeah, it's weird as hell.
I hope that's the last time that ever happens. I've been on this board for 8 years. I've never seen
We're going to convene back into regular session. The only votes that were taken in executive session was for the minutes for November 15th and to adjourn back into regular session. So, Mr. Superintendent, it's back to you.
Thank you. I'd like to request approval of the tribunal report for October.
Okay.
Second.
Got the superintendent's recommendation, got a motion. Ms. Lyons, second, Ms. Cobb. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Next, I'd like to request approval of the personnel report for November.
So moved.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you do them both together?
I just did October, and then I just made a recommendation for November.
Okay, you said personnel.
I did.
Tribunal.
Sorry.
So we're going to do a
Tribunal
tribunal
report for November. I apologize.
Okay, so we got a motion for that superintendent's recommendation for tribunal report for November. And Ms. Lyons made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
McClure with a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Carries 6-0. I'm sorry.
No problem. I'd like request approval of personnel items number 1 through 122.
We have a superintendent's recommendation. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Back to the motion. Slides with the second. Any additions, deletions? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. I'm just going to pass these down. This is a little information regarding the McClure van trip. It's asked for some information on. Basically, there's 96 students, 45 parents going to New York. I won't read through the whole thing, but they're looking forward to a great trip. Have 4 corporate sponsors. Like I said, their fundraising went very well. So, and I will, once they return, I'll get some information from them in regards to the trip. Next, there's a question about the studio in a box. So I'm going to start with this page here. Studio in a box. The grant comes from the Education Sports Entertainment Network. So this gives you a little bit of information about it there. So the ESE Network is the person that is the company that does the grants. And like I said, it gives you a little information about the company there. Page 2 are the items that come with the studio in the box. And then the next page here was the one that North submitted. The reason I gave you the first one because the main thing is if you look at the camera package at the bottom, it's divided out on North. So the budget is approximately $30,000. Again, the grant comes from ESE. They're the one that provides the equipment. They're the one that's given the grant. So basically, it's almost $12,000 on the second page there, $11,800 in equipment. And then there's also some licensing agreements, tripods, so forth. And then the additional $18,000 that's not listed on the spreadsheet covers their iPad equipment, which is tablets, cases, mics, plus their technical support, training. They do have some cloud space, and then also their web platform network. Under the first page I gave you there, also their website is at the bottom. You can go on there, and it provides some really good information. But also on their website, you can see that they have done these grants across the state. So multiple schools across the state have received these grants. And basically, I think what it is they receive this grant, provide the equipment, in hopes after year 2 or 3, I can't remember, that you'll continue to use their service. So, does that make sense?
This is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yes,
That's
sir.
perfect.
Just a couple of reminders. I think on the 16th, on this Friday at 10 a.m., there are several people being sworn in. It's at the probate court, correct?
Yes. 10 o'clock.
Probate court, 10 o'clock. Just a reminder that our offices.
Excuse me. Normally, it's not in probate court. It's downstairs in that big room in the.
Oh, that's right. The
I'm
last
just
time
going to go where they tell me to go.
Well,
It's in the government, you're right,
the
Teresa.
government complex.
Yes.
It's not in probate
She's
court
correct,
itself.
yeah.
Okay.
So, thank you. Just a reminder that offices will be closed, from next Wednesday, which is the 21st, through the 2nd. Teachers report back on January 4th. Students return on the 5th. And on January 10th will be our next Board of Education meeting. So, just like to say thank you for your support and wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Are we going to do
comments.
anything
Go ahead.
special for Mr. Watson?
Mr. Watson had asked that we not. So,
I was going to say, Mr. Means only served a couple of years, and he served 8, and we didn't do anything for him. He
That's
just
just
didn't
Joe.
want
He didn't want anything.
Right.
He threatened me not to say nothing.
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion.
Wait a minute. Hang on. You want motion to adjourn? Is that what you're making?
No.
Oh, no, okay. Then you're on board member comment, okay.
Yeah, I want to amend the agenda to add a resolution.
motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Before we vote, do you want to tell everybody what it is?
Yeah, we got a resolution honoring our colleague Joe Watson Jr. for his service to the Board of Education.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimous.
I'd like to make another motion to approve the resolution. I'll read it before we vote on it.
Okay, we've got a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Ms. Lyons, all in favor, raise your hand.
I'll read it.
Carries 6-0.
Whereas the Paulding County School District is a political subdivision of the state of Georgia, and whereas it is governed by the Board of Education elected by the people of Paulding County, and whereas the Board of Education, in conjunction with the Paulding County School District Superintendent, desires periodically to recognize and honor individuals who have made significant contributions to the district, its students, and whereas Mr. Joe Watson Jr. has been elected member of the Paulding County Board of Education, and whereas Mr. Joe Watson Jr. has been an at-large member of the Board of Education since on or about 2004, and whereas Mr. Watson's dedication to his community, his leadership examples were on display daily in Paulding County, and whereas Mr. Watson's efforts have earned him the recognition of his community and peers on the local and state level. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Paulding County Board of Education that Mr. Joe Watson Jr. be recognized and commended at its meeting on Tuesday, December 13, 2016, for his service to the people of Paulding County, the Paulding County School District, and the great state of Georgia. But most importantly, be it resolved that the Paulding County Board of Education recognizes the dedication, compassion, and leadership that Mr. Joe Watson exudes every day as a member of the Paulding County Board of Education, and the impact he has made and will continue to make in our community. Be it further resolved that the Superintendent of Paulding County School District is authorized and directed to transmit an appropriate copy of this resolution to Joe Watson Jr. and to publish it to the people of Paulding County, Georgia.
I'd just like to make a correction. He was elected he took office January 1st, 2008.
No.
No,
2009.
yeah, he was elected in 2008, but 2009,
We started
not
off.
2005.
Superintendent's authorized to make corrections as he sees fit as well.
And with that being said, since he's not here to get mad at me, I'm going to say a little bit too about Joe. Yes, he's been a board member for 8 years. Well, some of you don't know probably that he was
I do. I'll email it to
city
you.
council for 28 years. So he has been in service for 36 years of serving our district. But you can see by this meeting he is passionate, and you can use that in there, about his community. And he wants nothing but the best for this community. So with that being said, I thank you for putting that together, but he's a good man, and I think that says a lot for him.
And I'd also like to add, not only did he serve on the council, but he held one of the most difficult positions in our district for probably about 16, I don't know how long.
I think it's 18 years.
18 years as transportation director, so that is a feat in itself.
He's done a lot for the community.
He's also, he's held 10 elected positions in Paulding County over the years.
Something like that.
Did you know that?
No.
10.
He's done a lot for us. So.
Well, he's been elected 10 times.
Yeah.
He could have been the same position more than once.
So if you're not here, thank you, Joe. I know you're not sitting there. Anything else?
I would like to mention, it's the first time I got to attend this morning, but they came and talked to us one time about CareLink. They've changed the name, but it's CareLink of Northwest Georgia. And it's a group of people, and I know we sent some representatives. I think saw Monica Rizda there, as well as our director of our nurses this morning. But they are trying to get some kind of health care center with a lot of nonprofits and stuff to help our families. And the speakers this morning were William Bledsoe and Margarita Bledsoe, and they were representing an organization that handles Atlanta as well as Cobb County, and they actually have health care centers in some of the schools, elementary schools, in some areas that need that, where the children cannot get health care. So that might be something that you hear more about in the future, so I just wanted to let y'all know that CareLink of West Georgia will be listening out for that, and that's a community effort.
Anybody else? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Albright, motion. Chester with second. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Hey, Nick.